Alright folks, so this is part 2 of my income statement video series. Now for this series we're going to look at Microsoft. So we're going to type in Microsoft Investor Relations and we're going to go ahead and click on this first page right here. Now from this page right here you want to click on Earnings and Financials. Now they're going to have this drop down. You want to press on Press Releases and Webcast. So once you get to this page you can download all of the files that are related to the earnings. And the reason why I'm choosing Microsoft over any other company to analyze is because they give us these nice financial statements in these Excel spreadsheets. So if you're a beginner, you have this nice Excel spreadsheet that you can refer to and you can learn from. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up because I have it downloaded already. So let's just go through this income statement. So they're looking at the 3 months that ended in September. So they're just looking at the September quarter here. So we are comparing 2022 to 2021. And essentially what they call this, they call this horizontal and vertical analysis. So horizontal analysis essentially means that we are comparing one year to another. So this is horizontal. Now when we're comparing the numbers within the same year, this is called vertical analysis. And I'm going to go ahead and look at some of these calculations here. So I have this right side all open where I'm just going to put my side calculations. I also have this formula right here. And this formula is how you do comparisons between one year and another year. So you take the current year, you subtract the prior year, then you divide it by the prior year, and then you multiply it by 100. And I'm just going to show you an example of that. So Microsoft, they report their revenue in two different segments. So they have their product segment and their services and other. So from their product segment, this year they made, let's see, this is in millions. So they made about $15.74 billion from this segment. And from services and other, they made $34.38 billion. But we want to compare this to 2021. So here in 2021, they made $16.63 billion. So we know right away, just from looking at this, that there is a decline in growth right here in 2022 for this segment. So let's just go ahead and calculate what that actual decline is. So we're going to do equals, and we're going to follow this format, the current minus the prior. So let's go ahead, start our parentheses. We're going to get the current, which is 2022. We're going to subtract it by the prior, which is 2021. Then we're going to divide it by the prior, 2021. So we're going to go ahead and click this again. And then we're going to close these parentheses. And then instead of actually having to multiply by 100, I could just do this percentage right here. And then I want to make sure I increase the decimal places to where I can see at least 2 decimal places. So right here, let me just zoom in for you guys as well. So right here, we can see that we had a 5.35% decline in revenue for this product segment. Now, what about services and other? So for services and other, we can clearly see that this segment grew. I mean, we're looking at 28.68 billion here. We're looking at 34.38 billion here. So this clearly grew. So we know that this number is going to be positive. So let's go ahead and do the same calculation. So all I really need to do is I just need to drag this one down. So right here we see a 19.85% growth. So that is a pretty big whopping growth. Now what about total revenue? So total revenue, we do the same thing. We just have to drag this one more time. So total revenue, this amounts to a 10.6% increase from the 2021 quarter to the 2022 quarter. So what we're doing here, this is called horizontal analysis because we're looking at one time to another time. So we're comparing over time. This is called horizontal analysis. Now, let's just do the cost right here. So let's look at the cost. So they're also breaking it down into the same segments. So right here, our cost clearly went up, even though our revenue didn't necessarily go up. So this isn't really a good sign because right here for the product, we have lower revenue from 2021 and we have higher costs as well. So that's clearly not a good sign. Now, what about services and other? Well, we have higher costs, but think about it right here. We have a higher revenue, so it makes sense that we have a higher cost right here. So what is our gross margin? Our gross margin right here is 34.67 billion. It is 31.67 billion right here. So now we're going to do a vertical analysis. So I want to go ahead and insert a slide. Or not necessarily a slide, I mean a cell. So let's just put gross profit margin, or gross margin for short. Gross margin percentage. So now this is where we do vertical analysis. So vertical analysis is comparing within the quarter. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this gross margin number. I'm going to divide that by the total revenue. So now we can see that gross margin is 69.17%. So what this means is that for every $1 of revenue, we're retaining about 69 cents. So to me, that's pretty good. But obviously, you want to compare this number to other companies within the same industry to actually get some meaning out of it. Now, what about for 2021? So we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to get this 31.67 billion. We're going to divide that by the total revenue right here, which is the 45.31 billion. We're going to turn that into a percent. And we're going to give it 2 decimal places. So 69.89%. So what we can tell from this, right here we did vertical analysis to get this percentage right here. We did vertical analysis right here to get this percentage right there. Now we're going to do horizontal analysis where we're looking at the gross margin percent. So as we can see in 2022, the gross margin percent was slightly smaller. I mean, look at that. That's literally like 0.72%. It's not even 1%. But think about all the money that we're dealing with. We're dealing with billions. So this could be a pretty big amount. But thus far it seems like they're mostly maintaining their margins. So I don't think that this is a big concern. So now we're going to move on to the next part. So now we have all of these different expenses, We have cost of revenue right here. So this is research and development. We have sales and marketing, and general and administrative. This is like your accountant work. So this is like the stuff that I do. Now, this right here, cost of revenue, this is directly related to the product and the services that they are selling. So these are costs directly related to this. Now, everything right here, the total cost of revenue, or this is all basically these two combined. Now, what about this research and development, the sales and marketing, and general and administrative? These are almost indirect costs. So these go into operating expenses. So once we subtract all the operating expenses from the gross margin, we get this operating income line. And operating income right here is higher than in 2021. So this right here, this is a good sign. So let's just take a look at these numbers real closely. So just looking right here, we can see that our R&D went up, our sales and marketing went up, and our general and admin also went up. So all three of these expenses went up. But that makes sense because our total revenue went up as well. So now, we have our operating income amount. Now we have this other income net. So other income is essentially everything that is not necessarily related to the core business. So the core business is related to this products and services. Now other income is pretty much everything that is not related to that. So other income, it's a small amount. It's 54 million. In the prior quarter, it was 286 million. So this is just small monies in comparison to these larger numbers that are in the billions. So income before income tax, it's 21.57 billion here. It's 20.52 billion here. So if we're looking at provisions for income tax, this is how much income tax we have to pay. So right here, it's about 4 billion in income tax. But right here, we probably got a lot of different tax credits or whatever. So there's a lot of taxes that were removed from this amount. So, we only reported 19 million here in 2021. So if you really did want to look into this, you could go back to the 2021 quarter and see why is it that they only paid 19 million. So this would be, a point that you would want to highlight. Highlight this in like orange or something, and then look back on this. Figure out why they only paid 19 million in taxes versus this year where they paid 4 billion. So this is definitely a point of interest. So then we're gonna have net income. Obviously, we paid so much income taxes this year, so net income is probably going to be less. And as you guys can see, 2022 net income was a lot less than in 2021. It's about $2.5 billion less, or actually it's about $3 billion less here in 2022. So what does that mean for earnings per share? Earnings per share is obviously going to come in less. So look right here. We have diluted of $2.35. Right here we have diluted of $2.71. So, earnings per share took a hit right here. It took a hit of about 36 cents. Now, if we're looking at diluted shares decreased a little bit, but it didn't decrease so much that it made our diluted earnings per share much higher than the prior year. So this current diluted per share of $2.35, this is primarily low because our net income wasn't as high. So just a reminder, diluted earnings per share is essentially just net income divided by the diluted shares outstanding. And that's going to give us that $2.35. So this is basically an overview of how I look at these income statements, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.